There is a truth that separates the wealthy from the struggling, the free from the trapped, and the fulfilled from the frustrated. It is not luck. It is not education in the traditional sense. It is not even opportunity. It is self-education. And if you understand this one principle deeply enough, you will never depend on the world to shape your future again, because the world will only pay you according to the value you can solve. And self-education is how you increase that value every single day. Most people stop learning when school ends. They believe education is a phase of life instead of a way of life. And that is where the separation begins. The moment formal education ends, most people begin a silent decline. Not because they become less capable, but because they stop growing intentionally. They start consuming entertainment more than knowledge. They start repeating routines instead of building skills. They start reacting to life instead of designing it. And slowly, without realizing it, they trade their future for comfort. But there is another path, a path where learning never stops, where every day becomes an investment into your mind, where every book, every mentor, every experience becomes a stepping stone toward financial independence and personal freedom. That path is self-education. Let's understand something very clearly. You are not paid for your time. You are paid for your thinking. Two people can work the same hours in the same city doing similar work, yet one struggles financially while the other builds wealth. Why? Because one has developed higher value thinking through learning and the other has not. Self-education upgrades your thinking. It teaches you how to see opportunities where others see problems. It teaches you how to turn skills into income streams. It teaches you how money actually works instead of guessing your way through life. And most importantly, it teaches you how to think independently, because dependence is expensive. Independence is profitable. Now listen carefully. If you want more money, don't chase money first. Chase knowledge. Money always follows value. And value is created in the mind long before it appears in the bank account. Every skill you learn increases your value. Every book you read expands your awareness. Every new idea you apply increases your income potential. Self-education is not about collecting information. It is about transformation. Information alone does nothing, but applied knowledge changes everything. Look at the world around you. Some people are always waiting for the right time, waiting for opportunities, waiting for permission. And others are building, learning new skills, studying markets, improving communication, developing discipline. One group hopes life gets better. The other group gets better at life. And the difference between those two mindsets is self-education. If you study the lives of financially free people, you will find a common pattern. They are learners. They read constantly. They observe carefully. They invest in mentors. They study failures as much as successes, because they understand something powerful. If you are not learning, you are not earning at your full potential. Now, freedom is not just about money. It is about choice. Financial freedom is simply the ability to say yes or no without fear. And self-education is what builds that power. When you are knowledgeable, you are no longer dependent on one job, one skill, or one source of income. You can adapt, you can pivot, you can rebuild. And in a changing world, adaptability is wealth. But let me warn you about something dangerous. Most people confuse being busy with being educated. Scrolling social media is not learning. Watching random content is not growth. Consuming without applying is not progress. Self-education requires discipline. It requires you to sit down with a book when others are distracted. It requires you to practice when others are relaxing. It requires you to think when others are consuming noise. That is why so few people become truly free, not because they cannot, but because they will not pay the price of focus. Here is a simple truth. Your life will always move in the direction of your most dominant thoughts. And your thoughts are shaped by what you consistently expose your mind to. If you feed your mind confusion, you get confusion. If you feed your mind clarity, you get clarity. If you feed your mind growth, you become growth-oriented. Self-education is about controlling what enters your mind so you can control what comes out of your life. Let's talk about wealth for a moment. Wealth is not created by working harder alone. Millions of people work hard every day and remain stuck. Wealth is created by working smarter, and smarter is a result of learning. Self-education teaches you how to manage money instead of losing it, how to invest, instead of just earn, how to create, instead of only consume, how to leverage time, instead of being trapped by it, and every one of these skills multiplies your financial results. But perhaps the most powerful benefit of self-education is this: it changes your identity. Because once you start learning seriously, you stop thinking like someone who waits and start thinking like someone who builds. You stop saying, I can't afford it, and start asking, how can I afford it? You stop saying that's impossible and start asking what would make it possible. You stop living inside limits created by others and start expanding your own limits. And here is where freedom truly begins. When your mind is trained to solve problems, money stops being a mystery because the world pays for solutions. And educated minds produce solutions. That is why self-education will always be the fastest path to wealth. Not because it guarantees money instantly, but because it guarantees growth permanently. Now imagine this, a person who reads daily for 5 years, who learns new skills every year, who applies knowledge consistently, who refuses to remain the same person for too long. Compare that person to someone who remains unchanged for 5 years. The gap is not small, it is massive. That gap is what we call wealth difference, freedom difference, life difference. And it all starts with one decision: to take responsibility for your own education. No one is coming to rescue you. No one is going to install discipline into your life. No one is going to force you to grow. That responsibility belongs to you. And the moment you accept it, your life begins to change, because self-education puts your future back into your own hands. So start small if you must. Read a few pages every day. Learn one new skill every month. Find mentors in books and real life. Reflect on what you learn and apply it immediately. Consistency will do the rest. Because greatness is not built in moments of motivation. It is built in moments of repetition. In the end, self-education is not just a tool for making money. It is a way of becoming a stronger, freer, wiser human being. It is the bridge between where you are and where you are capable of going. And once you commit to it fully, your life will never stay small for long. Because a mind that keeps learning can never stay limited. And a person who keeps growing can never stay trapped. That is the real power of self-education. It does not just make you rich, it makes you free. Self-education is the foundation of personal wealth, because everything you earn in life is ultimately tied to the quality of your thinking. Money does not flow toward effort alone, it flows toward value. And value is created in the mind long before it is reflected in action or income. When you rely only on formal education, you are often trained to follow instructions, complete tasks, and fit into systems that already exist. But when you commit to self-education, you begin to train yourself to create systems, not just function within them. The difference may seem small at first, but over time it becomes life-changing. A person who continuously learns outside of school begins to see the world differently. Instead of asking, what job can I get? They start asking, what problem can I solve? That single shift in thinking opens the door to opportunity, innovation, and financial growth. Self-education expands your awareness, and awareness is the starting point of wealth creation. As you learn more, you begin to understand how money actually works in the real world. You realize that income is not random or purely based on time spent working, but on the level of skill, problem-solving ability, and value delivery you bring. A person who invests time in learning communication, financial literacy, sales, leadership, or digital skills naturally becomes more valuable in the marketplace. And when your value increases, your income potential increases with it. Self-education also builds independence. Instead of waiting for someone to teach you or guide you, you take responsibility for your own growth. This mindset alone separates those who struggle financially from those who steadily build wealth. The self-educated person does not rely on circumstances, they rely on understanding. They don't wait for opportunities, they create them through knowledge and preparation. Another powerful aspect of self-education is that it compounds over time. Every new concept you learn becomes a building block for the next. A small idea learned today can lead to a breakthrough years later when combined with other knowledge. This compounding effect is similar to financial investing, but even more powerful because it shapes the way you think, decide, and act every single day. Most people underestimate this process because its rewards are not immediate. It requires patience and consistency. However, those who stay committed eventually find that their thinking becomes sharper, their decisions become wiser, and their confidence grows stronger. They begin to recognize opportunities that others ignore, not because the opportunities are hidden, but because their level of thinking has changed. In the long run, self-education does more than increase income, it transforms identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone limited by circumstance and start seeing yourself as someone capable of growth, creation, and leadership. This shift is the true foundation of wealth, because external success always follows internal development. When your thinking improves, your actions improve. When your actions improve, your results improve. And when your results improve consistently, wealth becomes a natural outcome rather than a distant goal. True income growth begins when you shift your focus from passive consumption to intentional learning. Most people unknowingly allow their minds to be filled with constant entertainment, distraction, and irrelevant information. While this may feel relaxing in the moment, it slowly reduces mental clarity and replaces growth with stagnation. On the other hand, when you choose to invest your time and knowledge, you begin building something far more valuable than temporary comfort. You begin financial freedom is not the result of hard work alone, but of educated action applied in the right direction. Many people believe that simply working more hours or putting in greater physical effort will eventually lead to wealth. While hard work is important, it is only one part of the equation. Without the right knowledge, effort can easily be wasted in low-value activities that keep a person busy but not necessarily productive in a meaningful way. Self-learning changes this entirely because it teaches you how money actually moves in the real world. It helps you understand that income is not fixed by time, but expanded by skill, awareness, and problem-solving ability. When you begin to educate yourself in areas like financial literacy, communication, marketing, investing, or entrepreneurship, you start to see patterns that most people miss. You begin to realize that wealth is created when value is multiplied, not when time is merely exchanged. For example, a person who learns how to communicate effectively can influence decisions, build trust, and create opportunities that lead to higher income. Someone who understands basic investing can make their money work for them instead of relying solely on active labor. A person who studies business or digital skills can create systems that generate income even when they are not physically working. All of this becomes possible not just through effort, but through educated effort. This is where self-education becomes a powerful force. It transforms blind effort into strategic action. Instead of working harder in the same direction, you begin working smarter with clarity about where your energy should be invested. You start asking better questions, such as where value is created, how problems can be solved, and what skills are currently in demand. These questions naturally guide you toward financial opportunities that were previously invisible. Another important aspect is adaptability. The modern world changes quickly, and industries evolve faster than ever before. Those who rely only on outdated knowledge or fixed skills often find themselves stuck. But when you commit to continuous learning, you develop the ability to adapt. You are no longer dependent on one job, one industry, or one source of income. Instead, you become flexible, capable of shifting your direction as new opportunities emerge. This adaptability is a key ingredient of financial freedom. It removes fear of change because you are confident in your ability to learn and grow. It also reduces dependence on external systems because you know you can rebuild or reinvent yourself whenever necessary. Ultimately, educated action is what turns effort into results. Self-education gives you the tools to make better decisions, avoid costly mistakes, and recognize opportunities earlier than others. Over time, this creates a compounding effect where your actions consistently produce higher returns. That is how financial freedom is truly built, not through effort alone, but through effort guided by knowledge and applied with intelligence. The habit of self-education gradually reshapes a person's entire identity, influencing not only what they know, but how they think, how they behave, and how they respond to life. At the beginning, it may simply look like reading books, watching lectures, or learning new skills. But over time, it becomes something much deeper. It becomes a way of living where growth is no longer optional, but natural. When a person commits to learning consistently, they begin to break free from the limitations of old beliefs. Many people grow up with inherited ideas about money, success, and what is possible in life. These beliefs often create invisible boundaries that restrict ambition and reduce confidence. However, self-education slowly replaces these limitations with new perspectives. Every new piece of knowledge expands awareness, and expanded awareness leads to expanded thinking. As thinking expands, behavior begins to change. A person who once avoided challenges starts to face them. A person who once doubted their ability begins to trust their potential. This is because learning builds internal evidence of capability. Each time you understand something new or apply a skill successfully, you reinforce the belief that you are capable of growth. Over time, this builds strong self-confidence that is not dependent on external approval, but on personal experience. Self-education also transforms decision-making. Instead of reacting emotionally or impulsively, a continuously learning person begins to think more critically. They analyze situations, compare options, and consider long-term consequences before acting. This shift leads to better life choices, not only in career and finance, but also in relationships, habits, and personal discipline. Better decisions naturally lead to better outcomes, and better outcomes reinforce a stronger identity. One of the most powerful transformations that occurs through self-education is the shift from dependency to independence. Many people depend on systems, employers, or external guidance to shape their lives. But as knowledge grows, so does the ability to think independently. The self-educated individual no longer waits for instructions, they seek understanding. They no longer rely on constant direction, they develop their own clarity. This independence creates a mindset of ownership. Instead of blaming circumstances, such a person begins to take responsibility for their results. They understand that while they cannot control everything that happens in life, they can control how they respond, what they learn, and how they improve.
This ownership mindset is one of the strongest foundations of success and personal freedom.
Over time, this entire process leads to identity expansion. The person who once saw themselves as limited begins to see themselves as capable of growth, leadership, and achievement. They stop identifying with their current situation and start identifying with their potential. And when identity shifts, everything else in life begins to follow. That is why self-education is not just about gaining knowledge, it is about becoming a different person. A stronger thinker, a more disciplined individual, and a more empowered human being. It quietly rebuilds you from the inside out until the way you see yourself no longer matches your old limitations, but aligns with your highest potential. Self-education is far more than a habit of learning. It is the continuous process of rebuilding your mind, reshaping your identity, and redefining what you believe is possible for your life. It begins with simple acts of curiosity, but over time it becomes a powerful force that transforms how you think, how you decide, and how you act in every area of life. When you commit to learning beyond formal systems, you break free from limitation and step into expansion. You stop relying on external direction and start developing internal clarity. You move from dependency to independence, from confusion to understanding, and from hesitation to confident action. This transformation is not instant, but it is inevitable for those who remain consistent. Ultimately, self-education leads you to a higher version of yourself, one who thinks with purpose, acts with discipline, and lives with intention. And in that growth lies true success. Because when you change your mind, you change your decisions, and when you change your decisions, you change your entire life.